In 1993, Kevin Arnold promoted a concert in San Francisco. He called it NoisePop. The NoisePop Festival has become an institution, presenting indie rock bands and intimate venues. For over a decade, we've interviewed the artists backstage to answer the question, what is indie rock? This is NoisePop!
Oh, there's still lots of t-shirts back there. We got t-shirts from the show tonight, the NoisePop Fest. We also are carrying fastback shirts and our shirts.
There's 2 more on the wall. What are you talking about?
Hey, if you really want one of these t-shirts, then go back there and leave your name and address, and I swear to God, I'll make you one and send you one.
Kev,
I've only made about 15 of them.
Nobody wants them.
Now can we play?
I'm Kevin. I started NoisePop, the festival, in 1993. Our first time out, it was just really meant to be one show to bring together a whole bunch of local bands. It was called a festival, right? But it was never conceived to be something more than one individual show. So festival just makes things seem more exciting and easy to market.
There's way more people here than I thought there'd be here, so I'm really happy about it. And I want you guys to all be real nice and give a big round of applause for the Fastbacks.
After the 5th year, it got a little bit too much for me to handle, and I brought Jordan in here to help me sell it out.
NoisePop didn't really start until 1998.
On that note, I'm gonna do. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. But I don't remember it, so if I fuck up, I'll throw shit.
You think indie rock was better in the 80s and 90s?
It was a different time back then. You know, you would do a car ad now. The Shins do McDonald's ads, and Iron and Wine does M&M ads with the Postal Service on all that stuff. That happens. To do that in this community that we were in was taboo. You just didn't do that. It wasn't even taboo. It was just shitty. You just didn't do it. You know.
Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head. It didn't hurt. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert.
How did you first get involved in music?
How? My parents, when I was probably 6 or 7, thought that it would be a good idea if I played a musical instrument. You know, eventually, because there was an instrument lying around, I started writing songs. But only when the guitar would, like, you know, the strings would break, and of course we wouldn't really replace them because I didn't have the money for it. And so when the guitar got down to like 4 strings or 3 strings, I found that I could actually really play it and really enjoy it. So I started writing songs mostly on like 4 strings or 3 strings.
Just give me indie rock!
Gotta play!
Come on, indie rock!
Taking inspiration from who's scared
I actually feel like I really benefited from the first kind of like hippie alternative ideas that made it into the mainstream. That was, I mean, I was seeing this on TV every day, like, do it yourself, do it, you can do it, sing a song, make it short, make it long, don't worry if it's not good enough for anyone else to hear, just sing a song. Like, I took that to heart, and that's for real, you know. And so then when I saw something as exciting as like the Dead Kennedys and the Ramones, which sounded as good as the Beatles and the Who and Jimi Hendrix to me. They sounded just as good, or if not better. Just in my mind, I was immediately like, this is it. But the Angels weren't really, oh, it was more like, ah, you know, it was great.
Ghost, the boss, smoking crack in your house, 100 miles an hour down the meadow, stoned and drunk in the ghetto again.
We didn't really think about the future or trying to get to the next level. I guess in the sense of becoming a band, you know, you might want to play some shows.
Once you've been in a band for a lot of years, you do have sort of an audience that will come see you for nostalgia's sake. Now I have like some people that will come for nostalgia's sake, but it's just because they kind of like me, not because they like the band or want to see the songs, or it's the closest they can get. So the rest has to be just people that are like, I really like this band. Or there's nothing else to do on Saturday night. You know, I guess I'll go. He used to be in that band that I've heard of.
She was eating her fingers like just another meal, but she waits there in the levee wash, makes a cocktail with a plastic tip cigar.
We were talking to a lot of different musicians who cite Pavement as one major influence.
Bad move.
Why?
We were just copying our favorite bands, R.E.M. and you know, stuff I grew up on.
My eyes stick, Terry shiny road. She wears on the protein Delta strip. In the abandoned houseboats, I will wait there. I'll be waiting forever. I'm waiting.
We toured with them, actually, a lot back in the day. We got along really well. Those were good days.
So do you have good memories of playing with Pavement?
No, I mean, they're all bad memories, you know. Like every band that breaks up is a bad memory. We're fine, you know, in other circumstances, you know. But like playing music, I don't think I could ever do that again.
Pavement, Sebadoh, Creeper Lagoon, you guys all had bad breakups.
To be really passionate has an inherent dysfunction that comes with it. I don't care what four people you find, any four people on the planet, if they all get along, then the band's almost guaranteed to be boring.
Drop out.
Mean choosing a life of obscurity?
Perhaps towards the mass culture, it's a small subgroup, but I mean it's much larger than a lot of art forms. For instance, if you were a poet or a painter or a classical musician or a theater actor, you're probably going to be even more obscure than me. So we're not that low. We're just not like Eminem or in the big mainstream of pop music.
Pavement sold 100,000 records total or something. But, you know, to us, they seemed like this mammoth, huge thing in our lives, probably.
Indie rock phenomenon, yeah.
I'm James Mercer.
I am Marty Crandall.
We're in the Shins. There's definitely an influence on us that comes from bands like Pavement and Sevedo and Arches of Loaf. That was one of the really cool things about living in Albuquerque in the 90s and being in a band was, you know, you'd end up, if you had any similar sensibility to bands like Arches of Loaf or Pavement, you could play with them when they came through town because they would need an opening act, you know, to pull in whatever crowd you could draw. So we got to play with a lot of really great bands. Temp jobs, and then I was working in a sort of factory setting. You know, I was just working shitty jobs. I just remember having a conversation with my folks, you know, saying, you know, I want to put a real effort into making a record. I'm going to do this. So I quit my job, and I you know, lived off my credit card. And yeah, I just told my folks, you know, look, if it doesn't work, if a year from now, you know, this stuff's done, being recorded, and you know, it's just obvious that I don't have whatever it takes to be able to do this. You know, just I'm gonna go back to school and
got it, kid.
Get a job. You know, and get a life going.
I think
kids out there going, this shit's record. I loved it, you know. This reminds me of, you know, 2001 to 2003. What a great time in my life. Or, you know, or to hear bands popping up with maybe some kind of Mercer-esque vocal. I don't know. Yeah, that to me is like, oh,
that's way cooler than having your.
We did it. Yeah, it's way cooler than walking out of the limo.
Cover of magazines. Yeah.
I'm very happy right now as well. I think this is great.
Yeah, things are going great.
Things could go this way, maybe even dip down in the craziness, and I'd be fine.
Yeah, we could do one night at the Warfield and we'd be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
We left something that at least some folks remember. That's more than 95% of all bands. We were very happy being under the radar, little indie band that some people really love to death. That was fine by us. I'm Miles Krosky, formerly of the band View. We were around at the same time as a lot of those bands that were getting major label deals and what they wanted. I mean, we were told the same thing when we signed to Capricorn that had Cake at the time, 311, because there's a trumpet in our band, we're going to be the next Cake. But you can either you can take that seriously and let it just take it seriously and then and then it doesn't happen and it crushes you, or you just laugh at it. We chose to laugh at it. And if you define yourself by that success, and so many variables that you cannot control, God, what an albatross or a purgatory to live in, your whole life to think the could-haves, I could have been this, I should have been huge or whatever. I don't want to live in that kind of purgatory. That's miserable.
Who would have thought playing a show actually took practice? What a wonderful show, and all San Francisco Bay Area show at that for this NoisePop Festival. Thank you, Ramona. We get to see Ramona tonight.
Bottom of the Hill, and our show sold out in 4 days, and I just thought, oh my God, we're kings. We just sold out the Bottom of the Hill in 4 days.
Disappointed about not selling tons of records?
And I remember Bill had put a thing on the website that said, if we don't sell 500, if we don't go gold, which is 500,000 records, we're going to quit. To us, putting that was like saying, if we don't win the lottery, we're going to quit. Because we didn't think that was possible to sell 500,000 records. Sometimes it's good for things to end.
People have a hard time with that stuff.
I guess it's weird. People are weird. Well, life is long, man. It's other things will happen.
Everybody drown, sad and lonely, well everybody drown, sad and lonely, well everybody drown, sad and lonely.
There was a lot of naivete. The focus was really on just making a good record, and we just assumed that we'd make a good living if we made a good record.
So we got a couple more to play, and then Jimmy World's gonna play.
Years later, I was shocked, astounded, when I discovered that some of my favorite indie rock artists were just barely scraping by. I thought they were doing great. I mean, their records sounded great. How could they not be, making a good living?
Slot back, relax, I wanna hold you, but you break, please just let it out. If you think I'm a ghost, well touch me, sweet Sheila, 'cause I can't help it no more. Every day I'm away, stumbling forward to pay. I'm coming down like a wrecking ball, breaking heart.
I love Creeping Lagoon.
that was the bar that we had for ourselves, at least like, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could be like those bands and sell as many records as those bands? You know, like nobody was bigger than Modest Mouse or Bill or Fleetwood Kenny or something. So that was like, they might as well have been like, you know, that was like being like Bon Jovi or something like that.
Please just let it out.
At NoisePop, they had this dressing room. The door was shut all night, which was a little bit weird, but it just people like girls would go in, girls would come out. Some guy would come in, smoke would come out. You know, lights are off, lights are on. It's just this weird, this procession of people coming in and out of their dressing room, and we never saw them, I think, till like the very end of the show. And it was this, yeah, I think that's the weird sense of mystery around them, which was, at least at the time for us, being these like, these yokels from Bellingham, Washington, who drove down in our van to play in the big city.
Hello, we're Death Cab for Cutie, and we're from Bellingham, Washington. We speak in code.
Chris and I had made a tape of some songs that I had written under the name Death Cab for Cutie, and then, you know, we just kind of distributed the tapes around to people that we knew, and we just kind of started playing. You know, that kind of puts us about where our first NoisePop show was in '99. We didn't have any real solid definition of what the band was or what it meant. You know, we also had day jobs. We all didn't really have any money. I think that kind of touring is so much more taxing than what we do now. I mean, it's like, right, and there are like, I think there's 10 people on stage who are under our employ to make sure that we can get up and play for an hour and a half. You know, and it's like all we have to do is just do that, you know. And before it was like, you know, it was the driving, you know, it was the setup and sitting around a smoky club and playing a show and getting out at 2 in the morning and crashing at somebody's house. And that's what most bands in this country do every day. That wasn't so great of a show. We drove down and stayed with the Fiber guys in Modesto and partying. Well, I slept that night. I think you and I slept in the van, but I slept in between the bench seats, like where your feet would go. That one was pretty terrible.
Who else was on the bill for that show?
Rodriguez, who was Matt Ward's old band, M. Ward, Grandaddy, and Creeper Lagoon.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
At the Great American Music Hall. It was an incredible show for a number of reasons, but I remember just thinking that venue felt so big to us at the time. I mean, the place holds 600 people or something like that. It's not that big, but at the time it seemed massive. And also, it was the first time any of us had heard or seen Grandaddy, I think. And they were just astounding, you know, absolutely astounding.
The primary way you would hear about a great band on an independent label was your friends, your alternative weekly. And you know, maybe if you're really savvy, you were going on to websites at your 28.8 or 56K modem. In commercial radio land in 1999, it was Limp Bizkit, it was Korn, it was, you know, yeah. And you couldn't, there weren't these easy ways to find out about things beyond that.
Much talent, but we were, you know, a punk rock band that was sort of inspired by the times, and, you know, we had no design on anything. And so it didn't really matter to us that we weren't that good. I mean, no one ever came up to us and said, man, you guys are so good, you should form a band, you know? We aspired to be just like the bands that we saw come through town. That would be like Black Flag or Crucifix. The Minutemen stayed at my house, you know? And so we thought, well, we could do that. You travel around, you know, play to 50 people and sleep on people's houses. I mean, instead of it sort of seeming like you had to be the Beatles, you know, it was, you know, you could be the Minutemen or Black Flag, and that seemed like a reasonable, realistic goal.
Just the beginning of the festival. Come on, you guys. This is gotta get the big idea.
I think early on we wanted to make music that was, you know, beautiful and epic and emotional or whatever, but we just simply didn't know how. In the way that we sit now, we really can almost do any kind of music that we set our minds to. You know, there's just no limits. I got into a rock band because I wanted to do intense stuff. I didn't really just want to be an artist and sit at home and paint, you know. We live kind of like pirates or something, like there's some adventure that we want to get out of life. But luckily rock and roll lets you do that. You get to travel around, meet weirdos like you guys, and do interesting things, and you know, it's a great life.
Ladies, this is called I Am a Scientist.
Classify, you know, if you were pushed into a corner to...
Well, I do get asked a lot, you know, by my parents' neighbors and stuff, what kind of music do you play? And I just usually just say rock and roll.
Good answer.
Yeah. And then they go, you mean like metal?
Don't say a word. The last one still stinging.
At the first NoisePop show that Spoon played, Spoon is on tour with Archers of Love, but A&R people were up here chasing Spoon around. Ended up signing to Elektra and got caught in one of those crappy situations where the record didn't perform, the A&R person left, it's like it barely came out. And it's, you know, you think they're just dead.
Does that work as a solo song? How about you guys sing the harmonies? The harmonies make it.
They went back to the indie label world by signing to Merge, continued to make great records, toured consistently, made really smart decisions about their career, and are now bigger than ever.
When I was still growing up, and Dad head off to work, he put a coat and tie on over a fitted shirt.
Played NoisePop a lot.
In 2001, we opened for Superchunk, and I know that in 1997 we opened for Archers of Love. You know, it blows me away to be able to come to San Francisco and play in front of that many people by myself.
I longed for the days they used to say, a man began
kind of a recital going up there by myself. It's a pleasure to play in front of you. Thank you very much.
When's the new album coming out? That's a good question. I've been working on 2 records at once, and I can't seem to get either one finished. One of them is very dark, like that one song that bummed everybody out. And the other one is like a dance record.
I've gone all the way from paying for the pressing of the records myself, to indie labels, to a major label, to a equally big major label, back to indie labels, and ultimately they're not really that different. The good storytellers accumulate followers. How they find out about those stories is what's changed, I think. You can say before the internet and after the internet. That's really the core difference. And all of the rest of it stays pretty much the same over the course of time.
And so if you started a band today?
I'd find somebody who's incredibly web savvy and I'd make them part of my band. That'd be the first thing I'd do.
So, when was the last time I was here? Was it like a year and a half ago? Before the Believe in Life After Love, right? No, because it was like playing in the gym every day all summer. And I was like, but Beautiful Stranger was the one. I thought, like, is Madonna getting better or am I getting more gay? I couldn't really figure out what was...
The 2000s, for me, that was when I had started to look at electronica as being a way more interesting format. It was because electronica took me to DJing, took me to being a huge music fan again, and having to stay current and having to listen to so much new stuff. I don't have kids and I have to DJ 3 times a month and I have to tour and it's my job.
What are you most proud of if you look back? Because you have spent so much time.
That I'm still doing it. The individual events are just chance. I didn't have just 18 months and then back to Kinko's or whatever.
Right.
So I just didn't want to go, I didn't want to go back to Kinko's. So I had to do something about it. It was,
keep playing.
Yeah, you just keep on with it. So.
For the bands that never become superstars?
When you look at a lot of these artists who were hugely influential in our lives and in the lives of a lot of these bands, of course it's a bummer that there isn't a fund out there for people who have had this impact. But these guys have careers forever. And maybe they never had their 3 years of selling tons and tons of records or 5 years or whatever. But Bob Mould, 2009, it's the 30-year anniversary of Husker Du and the 20-year anniversary since his first solo record, and he's still doing it. He still doesn't have another job. He's still a musician, that's his job. And John Doe, X started in 1977, right? So, it's like here's a guy who, over 30 years later is still releasing solo records and still touring. And yeah, it's not, it's just a different thing.
voice of a stranger.
Thanks so much.
So punk bands must still have an influence on you.
I certainly appreciate, and sometimes even write, the, you know, kind of like didactic, like old kind of hardcore style, like, you know, this is bad and that is good. You are bad, they are good, you know, you know, Reaganomics sucks and Thatcher sucks, you know, kind of stuff. You know, that's still like very much that's a well that I go to certainly a lot.
You were young. It's not like you could just go on MySpace and find any punk bands. I mean, as a kid, you know, as a teenager, being at least curious enough to find out where these records were coming from and find them and mail order them and wait for 4 weeks for your 7-inch to come in the mail. Like, it just, you know, I mean, it changed my life.
So just get into it for yourself. I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. My head really hurts.
Like hearing Black Flag or something for the first time. And just knowing that, you know, Greg Ginn ran the record labels and this whole sort of network of people out doing things themselves was really, really, really inspirational. And made me think, like, wow, maybe I can really, maybe this is approachable on some kind of level. And you don't have to be like Boston or Duran.
So in 1985, did you feel appreciated?
The music we were making had value, but you know, it wasn't part of the equation that it would get us anywhere. Sad to say, I think people start bands these days hoping to make it big. And that just really would not have been a rational mind thinking that way back then, because you weren't going to make it big, making the kind of music you made. But we were going to have fun.
Actually, I'm gonna waste more of your time with banter and shit. I'm not really good at it and whatnot, and I really shouldn't give a fuck. Cause you know, all sorts of innate bullshit at me too. It's a fair trade, you know? Mine ain't shit, your ain't shit, and things. I don't mind. But I get head of the line, you know? Blather on. See? That's what I'm talking about. Did the big request now sign go up? It did. And shit. Oh, there isn't one. Fuck. You're all screwed. And that's me being an asshole to your face. Everything that you do, yeah, is falling apart. I got this thing that I consider my own world. My body's just getting the job. It's getting enough to burn my thoughts.
So is it hard being in an indie band?
If you can deal with being completely broke, you know, no insurance, you haven't been to the doctor in like 5 years, your teeth are pretty gross, you're not eating right, but you get to play music without records.
That sounds so romantic. What else?
Yeah.
Then there's that. What else are we gonna do? Seriously, folks. Look at us. What else would we do?
Candy,
I'm gonna make it.
Right, yeah, that's...
And be a rock star. Yeah, make it.
Right.
And if we want to make it, we don't go join Big Tanny and get facelifts.
So is NoisePop what you do for a living?
NoisePop has always been a hobby.
Not that we haven't fantasized about actually making money off of it.
So that goes with the territory, right? I mean, most indie bands have day jobs, they're barely getting by.
That's I think, one of the really, you know, that's something I'm really proud of with NoisePop, is that we've rode that out, whether it was on a national level where independent rock was going through a transition, or locally when the community was going through a transition. I mean, we've always been able to do it, and we've always been able to provide an outlet for bands.
The common thread of all the groups at NoisePop is I don't know.
And it was a correct wooden thing. He said, wanna talk about old strains. It's been 10, 12 years since I last changed my mind. And he read Sears down her neck, had a little blood stain on the second fret, but you know it still keeps the impeccable tight. And he said, I got a brand new song to show you, though it probably ain't gonna blow your mind. And the thing about Ryan was, he could always make a string buzz like it was 1989. And I remember my own car, man, for her girlfriend of mine. And that's the story of how O'Brien blew my mind.
We sailed away on a winter's day, with feet as malleable as clay. But ships are fallible, I say, and the nautical life all things fades, and I can recall our caravan, a little wicker beetle shell, with 4 fine masts and 18 sails, its bearings on Cape Caravel. Oh, my love, oh, it was a funny little thing to be the ones to see.
He was smiling through his own personal hell. Dropped a black dime down a wishing well, but he was hoping too close, and then he fell. Now he's Casper, the friendly ghost. No one ever treated him nice. While he was alive, you can't buy no respect, like the librarian said, but everybody respects the dead they love. The friendly ghost. And now they say we'll never forget what he learned us. We were mean to him, but he never burned us in. Love lives forever thanks to you. The friendly ghost. Good job. Good night. God bless.
Call this sort of like an indie rock scene, or
Right.
independent rock.
Right.
What do you think of that? How would you describe that?
Oh, indie rock. I don't know. They look pretty indie rock to me, I guess.
What does that mean?
They're young.
So I sing and drink and sleep on floors and try hard not to be annoyed by all these people worrying about me. So I'm suffering through some awful drive. You occasionally cross my mind. It's my hidden hope that you are still among them. Well, are you?
I was in Cincinnati last week, and we were sitting down in this bar. This guy was like, what is this band supposed to be? Indie rock? What the fuck is that?
Indiana?
Does that mean like Indianapolis rock? Like, you guys are from Indianapolis? Oh, that was funny.
Do you consider yourself indie rock?
In the rock?
Welcome in the cool rain of the astounding dawn. Watch the birds hovering over narrow lawn.
When we were in Germany, I saw on a few posters we got described as indie classique. It just sounds a bit better than indie on its own. It's like classique. I think most indie bands would have liked to be big. They're just not so popular. You know, but they prefer it. They have a chance.
Anything to be an indie rock band?
I think indie, the whole idea is not compromising with your artistic vision, and if you're still, you know, if you're able to. Are you?
If you check out probably the first releases from Motley Crue, when they started, that was indie rock.
That's true.
They knew where they were going, but they were under their own little label in Grass Valley, or where it is.
But I think what you mean, though, the whole idea of like indie kids, rock, and that whole thing. That's something that came way after us.
So, what do people mean by indie rock?
I think that what people mean by it now is that you don't have the backing of a multinational corporation, but everyone crosses the line at some point. You know what I mean? If you're the Walkmen, you're in a Volkswagen commercial. Where do you know? Where are you in the scheme of things? You know, but it mostly doesn't mean anything, which is good. It's a great thing. It doesn't mean anything.
Like who's like, I'm an indie rocker. You know,
There are
like,
some people that are like that.
Are there?
I wouldn't be as pompous as say we're like, we're outside of that. We're definitely part of a community and a scene. Some of the bands are a lot more abrasive than us, some are a lot more melodic, but there's this kind of a common drive and a common sense of fun. Yeah, it's that to me that makes a lot more sense than really like trying to like talk about sounds.
Okay, this is our very last song. We're Carlos. We're from here, beautiful San Francisco. This is our 100th NoisePop show.
All the bands have been through the same thing. Driving through in a van, like, you know, playing like to nobody, but still doing it for fun. Really, it's just for fun, really. You know, making music for fun. Not really caring what anybody thinks.
You just have to be influenced by bands from 67 to 71, or 77 to 81, or 87 to 91, like Pavement and Sonic Youth.
Gosh, this is the most I've ever thought about indie rock.
I know we've been under the radar for a while, but it's all for a good cause because our next record is going to be fucking retarded and it's going to blow your fucking minds, okay?
Do you think these new bands have different motivations than older classic indie bands?
Ambition's ambition, you know? I mean, there's some bands that come, you know, start
Nobody
playing.
starts a band, in my opinion, unless you actually absolutely want to be a rock star. Like, there's no other reason to pick up an instrument.
Why wouldn't you want to be a rock star? People think it's arrogant. It's like, well, if you have to fucking pick, wouldn't you want to be rich and famous and loved by millions of people and have sex with anybody you wanted to? Wouldn't you want to?
My godmother gave me a Metallica tape for Christmas on my 11th birthday. No, I was 10. I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I want to be either in Metallica or like Metallica, so can we do that? And well, she was supportive and said, sure, honey.
San Francisco. How you doing?
You guys all living in a van?
It's actually an RV, so it's a home.
Down by the river.
Alright.
Wait, you have an RV?
Yeah.
Have you always had an RV? Wait, how long has it been with Stells? How long have you been a van?
Well, we had the RV first, and then we're like, maybe we should start a band. First drink since Berlin.
Oh God.
Well, you're 3 weeks sober. Well, you don't want to go there. No, you don't want to go there. Fucking forget
It's
it.
yours. Do you want it? Yeah, go for it.
No.
So, that wasn't my first drink since Berlin.
Not gonna be a problem because we are gonna make it, man. We are gonna make it. I'm not kidding, man.
We need a day job there. It's for suckers.
Day job is for bands that don't make it, man. I mean, we're gonna make it. All right, thanks a lot, French Kickstarter, ladies and gentlemen. I am very glad that the opportunity to be on a major label has not presented itself to us. I think there's a chance that we would have been stupid enough to take it. It would have spelled doom for us on any number of levels. I think sometimes on a smaller scale is where you find the really good stuff. So I'm happy to be on a small scale for life.
Well, now I'm living for the day like any young gent art to do. My pointing fingers cracked from coffee sludge in my shirt. It smells like stew. My expensive education's on a permanent vacation, and my parents pray that I'm still a healthy boy. Amidst my pleasure and my ennui, there's a glimmer of some hope. That Casio my papa bought me's got a drum beat halfway dope. I'll spend my nights inside my closets writing songs that make me proud, and I'll go deaf because my headphones play too loud.
Check. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Check, we're the National. We never had plans to make a record or anything. It was more just for fun, and so we did that with another friend, and then figured we might as well start a label to put it out. We put a lot of work into it, but it wasn't like we weren't exactly driven to be a rock band or anything. It was definitely just another rock band, like another white rock band, indie rock band.
I know you put in the hours to keep me in sunglasses, I know. And so and I'm sorry I missed you. I had a secret meeting in the basement of my brain.
We didn't sell any records in the United States or anywhere else. If we went to Columbus or to Detroit or anywhere in the United States, we'd have 5 people, whereas we could go to Paris and get 500 people years ago. So we would go do that. We don't take for granted at all like what's happened recently for us. 4 or 5 years of touring and really nothing happening for so long. So fans that knew us from a long time ago, I think are, we're not their personal sort of like secret favorite band anymore, and we got so tired of being a secret, that we're really happy. So.
Didn't anybody tell you? Didn't anybody tell you this river's full of lost sharks?
I think it's almost impossible to really plan it out. You can get a little calculated with things, and that's the way it kind of goes, right? Like, what, it's more like don't do this, Like, it's not like this is what we'll do to do this. It's not like that. It's sort of like, how about we just don't do this so we don't do that? We're still that band that thinks it's gonna end anytime soon. Literally taking someone to kick us and go, hey, you're out of the box, guys. Stop it. You don't have to play the Carl's Jr. Salad Bar because this band asked you to.
You could have signed with a bigger label, but you signed to Dangerbird Records, which is a pretty small label.
When we signed to them, everyone was telling us we made the biggest mistake of our lives, because who the hell is Dangerbird? Now, our friends who've been on Capitol are like, how do I get off of this label and get out of yours? I mean, really, you know what I mean? Like, who knew?
The holy grail of indie rock of selling 100,000 records just started to just get blown out. 10,000 records on an indie label used to joke. It was like indie rock gold. It was like a wood record, we'd call it. You started adapting in terms of really embracing different ways to get music out there. It's just funny. I mean, when I started managing Death Cab, they didn't even have a website. Distribution platform changed in terms of being able to download records or order records off of Amazon. But more than that, just the awareness of it. All of a sudden, tens of thousands of people could hear your music, as opposed to, much smaller amount.
Why the hell do I have to have a MySpace page? This is stupid. I don't want a network, I just want to write songs. I just want to play, But that's how it is,
Now you waste all your days in the dark, in the corner, without lights, without grace, where you wait for the slaughter, where they spit in your face as the hours grow late. They laugh as they lie and seal up your fate. You cringe as you binge to forget how you hate all the doom in this pitiful room you create.
As I get older, and I sort of understand, whereas I didn't when I was 18, what more can you do except put your music out or put your thing out there and then hope people like it? Like if Eric Bachman started really, going, fuck it, I'm going to get on the internet, I'm going to sell my stuff, I'm going to go on this tour where, I'm going to make sure I'm going to get a PR person, I'm going to pay them $5,000 a month, and I'm going to get in Parade magazine, and I'm going to try to get on the soundtrack of, The Hills or whatever the fuck, and it would be distasteful, so he can't really do that. He's got more outlets now than people did even 5 years ago. And then what more can you do?
Thank you. Got one more song for you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the NoisePop people for putting this event on. It's really fantastic. I was meant for the stage. I was meant for the curtain. I was meant to tread these voids of this much I am certain. I was meant for the crowd. I was meant for the shouting. I was meant to raise these hands with quiet.
guys did. So why did you guys make it big?
People weren't listening to that type of music in the way they are now. We found ourselves in that fortunate position of making it through all that stuff and being under the radar until all of a sudden there was a window, and somehow us and the Shins and Modest Mouse and a couple other bands got through. I don't know.
I can't imagine that there are many artists out there who really think about money, you know, when they're trying to create something. I mean, I suppose there are, but you wouldn't be like, oh, well, what I'm going to do is live in Albuquerque for 10 years and start a band and, you know, buy a 4-track, and that's where I'm going to get to my riches or something.
As musicians, we're at the whim of so many kind of trends, kids and trends and all that kind of stuff. So it's like we live a very charmed life, but I think we're as confused about it as anybody else as far as why it's happened to us and not, you know, whoever else.
So Scott, are you happy?
Sure, I'm happy.
I'm happy that I decided to take the chance and actually try and do this because it worked out, you know. That I'm happy with myself for doing that, for not being scared into going to get some other job that I would have been safer. That's what I'm most proud of.
So does it feel good to be a little famous?
Yeah, yeah. You know, it doesn't feel like being famous. It feels very, you know what it is? It's touching. It feels, you feel honored that somebody likes your music. Yeah, especially somebody that's that far away in age. It's great.
And man, to make money off music, it's unbelievable.
But
I mean, it's incredible.
So how do you describe this music?
The most positive way that I can put it is that it's independent rock.
Solid Protestant work ethic, indie rock.
I guess we are indie rock, you know, then, you know, that's fine.
We have no idea, actually. We're stupid musicians. You really overestimated us.
They caught and drowned the front man of the world's worst rock and roll band. He was out of luck because nobody gave a fuck. The jury gathered all around the aqueduct, drinking and laughing and lighting up, reminiscing just just how bad he sucks, singing, throw him in the river, throw him in the river.